Hello, let's listen to the Brooklyn hearing, other parts of it about the Property Tax Advisory Commission, the only one that was held, even though there was supposed to be many more.
Okay, and is that part of the STAR assessment?
No.
Okay,
This is,
so
seniors, yes.
Specifically for seniors.
For seniors.
It's
I
really.
have a staff on the back.
Yeah, reach out.
You see how confusing it is. People don't even know all these little acronyms, SHRI and DRE, and they all mean different things to the Department of Finance. This poor person didn't know. Another person talked about their market value going down and their property tax going up, and no one on the commission even mentions that that's how it works. It has to do with underassessment. Supposedly every building is underassessed, or you'll see. And now Jamani Williams next. Listen to this.
Thank you, Ms. Cumberbatch. Councilmember Williams.
Good to see you.
Hey, everybody. All right, I'm probably going to read this. I want to thank the commission for coming out to Brooklyn. Some of the people most struggling under the current system are in my area of Central Brooklyn. I also want to thank the commission for allowing me to speak because currently I've been blocked by the administration from joining a suit by Tax Equity Now demanding reform for the system. But I'm appealing to the court, and just like I'm appealing to everybody here in the commission.
To hear that? As a council person, he wants to sue the city. He can only do that as himself. He can't do it as a council person. It would be the city suing the city itself. And it's not true that it's only East New York or his area that's being hurt by this. It's everywhere. In Queens and Staten Island are hurt worse. And it's very simple why. So we'll explain why.
Obviously, the first thing, somebody just asked me outside what I think of the system. I said it sucks. And
Yep, there they go again, giggling. You know, it doesn't help us at all to just use whatever language to describe the system. It's very simple. We can lower the assessment ratio to 0.1%, and Park Slope will pay more. It's as simple as that. It's under the control of the Department of Finance, as far as I can see in the law. I don't see anywhere in the law. I don't understand how the state can tell the assessor, the local assessor, every little thing that they do. That would leave no flexibility at all. I mean, why don't the state set the rate too? You know, set the tax rate, set the assessment ratio, set the way you assess it. Why doesn't the state do the whole thing then? Anyway.
of course, most people don't even understand what they're getting in the mail and don't understand why they're paying what they're paying. That, of course, is ubiquitous. I also want to just bring something else. Deeply entrenched within our system deeply entrenched flaws within our system have served as a wedge that over time widens the gap between the treatment of the rich and the rest in property tax assessment. It's been said that the tax system in this city is fundamentally broken. Right now, the system, I believe, is working as it may have been intended to, streamlining wealth accumulation and preservation for the rich and penalizing the poor. The inequity is not only related to the amount of money one owes, unfortunately, oftentimes how much melanin is in the community. Overwhelmingly, the individuals and neighborhoods being most devastated, although not the only ones being devastated, even targeted by the current tax structure, seems to be communities of more color, draining money from the resident.
I don't see how that, it has to do with how long the house has been there, how long when it was built, and in 1980 what its assessed value was. So I think he's incorrect. Queens and Staten Island are hurt a lot more than East New York or wherever he's talking about, Flatbush. So I don't think, with all due respect to this council person, I don't think he's looking at it correctly. It has nothing to do with color. It has to do with how long the property's been there and when it was assessed, when it was built, and the rate of growth from there. It's 4% for class 1 overall and 6% per year until they give you a break on 1 year. And then co-ops and condos are just off the map. They're in a whole different category. And as John Preceda, one of the writers of S7000A, said, that was a mistake. And co-ops and condos don't produce income usually. You usually can't rent part of your condo or co-op. And so it was just a giant mistake. And New York City has been propagating this mistake for 45 years, 40 years, whatever it is.
While providing breaks for the wealthiest blocks across the boroughs, it's holding back entire communities from financial advancement. People of more color are paying more into a system that supports them less. State law requires the city to base property assessments on sales of comparable properties, but the coalition's data shows homeowners.
But again, that is not even true. For class one, it's market value, and for class two, it's comparable rental income. So again, that's not even correct what he's saying, as far as I can tell.
Homeowners in predominantly minority neighborhoods are overassessed by 1.
In Park Slope is underassessed because its market values shot up, and there's still class one property there. Manhattan, it would have happened the same way, except there is no class one property left practically. It's only on the Upper West Side and places like that. There's not much class one property. If Manhattan was still all class one and there was some 1980, if the assessed values were very low, it would look just like Park Slope. So it's not, conspiracy or anything like that. It's just simple math, and we just have to open our eyes and look at it.
They pay $376 million, or an average of $844 per homeowner, more than they would if their properties had been accurately appraised based on comparative sales. Under the current property tax scheme, people of more color or minority population in the 50.
It looks like this guy's just reading, and he didn't even write it, so it's not even clear what he's saying.
15 lowest tax community planning districts, but make up 72% of the 15 highest tax by effective rate. As the commission has
who is even writing this stuff? I think he should just, give it to us and let us read it ourselves.
testimony around the city, we urge them not to just hear, but also to listen. Listen to the stories of people in low-income areas, of people of more color, of immigrants unable to get a leg up, working class folks in general, and see the wealthy thriving in a system rigged in their favor. The injustice and imbalance imposed by must be corrected, and the racial and class barriers that are set in place removed. That's my testimony, and I'm happy to take it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions?
None?
No. Thank you.
So we did ask a question earlier that I'd like to direct to you, Councilmember, which is in addressing some inequities like those that you point to, there will be people who have to pay more. And do you have any suggestions about how that transition could be handled, how we could bring people along about the need for adjustment where there are inequities?
That sucks too. And thank you, Commissioner. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I think the most important thing is what's currently happening is not working. And we know it hasn't been working for a very long time. And it's unfortunate that we've continued that. And I just want to say again, I'm saddened that the mayor has prevented us 4 council members who have tried to sign on his amicus brief for a lawsuit, just trying to force the city to come up with something. It doesn't prescribe necessarily what it is, and they're blocking that. Whatever we do, and truth be told, I know this, there are also going to be, when we adjust this, Black and Latino homeowners that are going to pay more than they are now. So I don't want to say it's necessarily 1-for-1 on everything. Whatever we do, we just have to make sure it doesn't happen overnight. So we're going to have to make some changes. We're going to have to make some adjustments. People who are paying less are going to have to pay a little bit more in some cases, but we can't provide sticker shock. And so I think we have to do this in a reasonable amount of time. But we never adjusted for the type of house wealth accumulation that is occurring in so many of these communities. That has caused a huge difference in the effective tax rate that people are paying. And we have to just, we can't let it happen. So hopefully we can have a discussion as a community, as a city, to understand that it isn't fair. And some people may have to pay a little more that might not happen, but make sure that it's not happening overnight.
Yeah.
So any guidance that you can provide as to what is reasonable for a phase-in would be appreciated.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Council. I got to shout out my City Council people. Commissioner. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
More?
Thank you. No.
No, I'm good?
Ralph
everybody.
Yoso.